We're going to open up with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to forego anything that has to do with the Board of Selectmen for now. And I'd like to turn this over to Enzo. He put most of this together to honor and thank Pete Rogers. So, Enzo, please.
Okay, we're all here tonight to honor Pete Rogers, who has contributed more than anyone can imagine to the town of Nahant, as far as back as I can remember. Pete was one of the founders of the preschool in Nahant, the Periwinkle Preschool, which is now integrated into the public school system. He was one of the authors of the Nahant Town Administrator Act. He's been active with all town officials, town meeting. He literally dissects things and gives you a good answer. He's always been known for that. He also served on the golf course committee, the chairman of the management study committee, which in turn wound up being part of the Town Administrator Act. That's how that evolved through him and Bob Foreman and the Board of Selectmen back then. He also served on the three superintendent search committees. He worked on the Swampscott-Nahant negotiations in the past for the school. He was instrumental in calculating the cost effect ed reform would have on the town. There's so many more things that Pete has done for the town, and it's all volunteer. He is undoubtedly an institution in this town. There's no question in my mind. And we thank him for doing all the things that he has done, and I'm really proud to say that I'm a friend of his. And and Pete's, right now, he's probably a little tired. You okay?
Well, I had a fairly long chemo session that ended this afternoon, and I might say a couple of things, but I was sort of lacking my usual coherence. I can't tell you how surprised I was to hear about this. Thank you. And how deeply moved I am. My last gift to the community is to say your town meetings will probably be significantly shorter after this. Jim Walsh had written a thing. I'm not on Facebook, by the way, so I have to rely on my daughter, who lives in Minneapolis, to tell me everything that's going on in Nahant. Hey, Richie, this is your chair.
No, sit right there. I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay. I apologize to everyone for not shaking hands and not giving hugs. I ended up with a very low white blood cell count, which means I'm very susceptible to infection, and I was afraid they weren't going to let me come to this at all. But since I have a terrible problem with remaining silent at meetings,
Really?
I just want to share a couple of thoughts about participation. And as you know, I've made a high percentage of the people in town mad at me for one reason or another over the years. But I've learned some things, a lot of things from this town, which I probably should have known a long time ago. I came from a town of 1,500 people, and I've always been a little baffled by the big city politics of Nahant. But Jim Walsh had mentioned participation. I obviously believe in it. I think it's the obligation of every citizen. It's the bone and sinew of any democracy, big and small. And there's a price to be paid for it. It's an investment of time, and it's an investment of risk. And I don't think people should ever be afraid of taking a stand, but there are a couple of rules. One is you have to remember that today's opponent may be tomorrow's ally in the next struggle. And conflict is unavoidable in a democracy. If you treat your opponent with respect, that will be reciprocated when the next battle comes along. The other thing is, always try to do your homework. Do a thorough job of analyzing a problem, and then take your stand. And over time, even people who were deeply suspicious of you and your motives will come to say, you know, I may disagree with a guy most of the time, but I can't fault his methods. And hopefully that tone of civility and mutual respect begins to identify a town. And so I want to thank all of you for the lessons you've taught me, sometimes the hard way, and I wish you all well carrying on. I will miss the struggle. Thank you.
Pete, we want to present you with this.
I am so moved by what you've done here. It's just...
And I also want to add that I met Pete back in the late 80s when we did 2 superintendent search committees together, and he was kind enough to give me one of his beautiful pictures, which still hangs in my house, by the way. It was very moving. And then in '93, when the Ed Reform Law passed, there were 4 people in town that understood the ramifications: Pete, myself, the superintendent of schools, and Mark Cullinan. And that was it. And it was a real battle trying to figure it out. And Pete and I spent hundreds of hours together trying to figure it out. And I was at the DOR and thought I could get answers, but this was an enormously big bill. And I'm very proud to tell you that Pete and I have been friends for a long time. And Pete, we have a certificate of appreciation that I wish Enzo would read to you.
Okay. The Town of Nahant presents this certificate to Pete Rogers on this 13th day of June, 2018, in recognition and grateful appreciation for your many years of dedicated service and outstanding contributions, education, finance, government, and all things Nahant by the Nahant Board of Selectmen. We also have Senator Creighton here who wants
The
to...
Senator's here to present you with something also, Senator Creighton.
Thank you. First, just want to say what an honor and how humbled I am to be here with all of you here tonight. And I want to say thank you to Enzo and the rest of the Selectmen for inviting me to be a part of this. When I first got to know Pete, I was running for state representative 4 years ago, and I had a small network in Nahant, but I really needed to grow it. And everybody that I talked to said, give Pete a call. And they described him as very intelligent, very thoughtful, but you know, someone that will be with you. He's loyal. They might have said you were a little gruff, but don't be scared of the gruffness. And when you're cold calling people as a new candidate, you're always a little bit nervous. You don't want to interrupt people's day. You don't know what to expect. But I don't know what I said, Pete, but we had that great conversation, and you were so helpful to me, as you have been to this town and so many others before me. So personally, I want to say thank you, but also we have a Senate citation in recognition of your many years of dedicated service to the town of Nahant, the Commonwealth, and the United States. So thank you again for letting me be part of this and for everything that you've done for the community.
I'll make an exception. Thank you, Brendan. Senator, I just want to say it was easy to support you because some of the people from here who work in Lynn, whom I trust and have done so for many years, called me up and said, hey, Brendan's the guy. So, you know, you were, you have been, we're proud of you. Thank you.
If we could now take an unspecified amount of time, as long as it takes, just food up back and mingle with Pete. Thank you. Meeting recessed.
I just wanted to thank Christine Licio for putting the bug in my ear.
Thank you,
All right.
Christine.
Christine's a true friend, and a true friend of Pete. That's for sure.
All right, Peter.